I think where a lot of people are lost in the debate, in the argument, in the joining of the solution is that difference between give a man some fish he'll eat tonight, teach him to fish he'll eat the rest of his life. It's not about just giving individuals money as opposed to taking those funds and empowering them to create a different standard of living for the rest of their life. And I think that's where a lot of people that I've talked to differ in saying, well, you can take them out of poverty by making these funds available. They question whether that is a patch or a solution, but they don't push back so much on saying if that money is spent on alternatives and education and giving them a different path, I don't find as much resistance to that as I do the other.
No, I mean, in these communities, you talk about things like midnight basketball. And this is gonna blow your mind. The Kaiser Foundation really recently did some studies. It was either Kaiser or Kellogg. They recently did some studies, and what they showed was the number one cause of underperformance amongst Black children, particularly in the South, in schools, was hunger. Right? Kids are going to school hungry. You can't perform if you're hungry. And so the free the breakfast program, the free breakfast program, or just ensuring they have somewhere to go after school. I mean, these are what I'm not advocating for a check to be written to anyone. What I am saying, though, is that there are so many things we can do in and around our communities to make them stronger.
Do you think something should be taught in the schools about this? It's not being taught. We hear all this debate about critical race theory being taught in schools. Those criticisms are always from people that don't know what critical race theory is. They haven't been to law school. They haven't been to the second year of law school, so they don't understand what that is. What do you think about what's being taught in the schools, or what should be taught in the schools?
I think we have to do a better job of teaching our young people things that are practical. I think that we have to teach them things like fiscal responsibility. I think that, how to balance a checkbook, how to budget, how to save. Those things are important. I don't have conversations or debates about critical race theory, Dr. Phil, because to your point, the people I'm having these discussions with don't know what it is.
No, I have no idea.
They have no idea what it is. And so we're not going to engage in those conversations. But to your point, I do think that we need to, right now, many times we teach to a test. And I think we need to teach to life. And I think we need to make sure that we're giving young people the kind of the tools to succeed in this new 21st century global economy. I think we need to teach young people how to code, right? So, teaching young people how to code is very, very, very important.
I have two boys, and my youngest son at one point was asking me, what do you want for Christmas? You're so hard to buy for because you're old and you do whatever you want. I told him, here's what I want. I want you to give me 1 hour a week to talk about anything I want to talk about. And he said, done. I said, no. You got to think about this because I'm going to hold you to it. So you think about it overnight and you come back. And he came back and said, okay. And to his credit, he actually did it. There was a lot of eye rolling early on, but then pretty soon he started coming back. Hey, I want my hour. I did what you're talking about. I taught him how to change spark plugs in a car. I taught him about checking accounts. I taught him about insurance for cars and a house. I taught him about utility deposits. I taught him about fertilizer, just things that you just don't get taught anymore. We learn those things, but you don't get taught that anymore.
You want to know this? I'm a country boy, Dr. Phil, and you'll appreciate this. Do you remember when they used to mail you credit cards?
Oh, yeah.
My dad, every time he would get one in the mail, my dad would bring it in the kitchen and he'd cut it up.
Yeah, yes.
And my dad would always, he taught us, he didn't teach us nothing about credit. But what he did say was that if you can't afford it, you should not buy it.
Yeah.
That was his philosophy. But, I think that there, STEM, coding, financial literacy, I think if I could implement one portion of a curriculum across the country, most people will be like, oh, you're going to teach people critical race theory. You're going to teach people Black history. No, I'm going to teach people financial literacy. That would be the number one thing that I would teach everyone, because you know what financial literacy is? It's that ladder that you were talking about.
Yeah.
It helps teach you how to climb out of your circumstances.
I just wrote an op-ed for Sportico. I said that the NFL draft just minted 262 new millionaires, and they had no idea what was just around the corner, because the career is about 3 years, and 2 years out of the league, 78% of them will be bankrupt or in serious financial distress because nobody teaches them how to manage their money. Nobody teaches them what to do, and they make more. Even on the low end of the draft, they make over $3 million, which is more than a college graduate makes in 40 years working. They don't teach them how to manage that money.
No, and they invest in like a car dealership and a car wash, right?
Yeah,
And then,
exactly.
I have a lot of friends. One of my very, very good friends, I refer to him as my little brother. He had about, I would say I think he told me he had $63 million in a savings account, Dr. Phil. In a savings account.
Yeah.
It was, and his philosophy was, one, there's not a lot of trust with folk. Two, his entire financial philosophy is that he'll never be broke again because he grew up in poverty. He ain't going back there. But he doesn't know, understand markets or anything like that. So there is a bank with a savings account, and it's growing at what, 0.025%.
Yeah. It's shrinking now.
That's true. And it has $60 million. So yeah, I agree.
Shaq's a good friend of mine, and he told me when he got his first contract for $20 million, he bought a house for $5 million in Atlanta and $5 million in California, and spent $5 million on something else, and said, "Okay, now I got $5 million I can run and play with." And then they came to him about halfway through the year. "Wait a minute, you owe $10 million in taxes." He said, "What?" Nobody had ever explained it to him.
I mean, we're laughing about it. I mean, but it's so real. And, these guys want to get back to their community. They want to buy their mom a house. And this financial literacy is something that can, and this is the unique part about why I like conversations with like this with you, is because your friends who may be more conservative than my friends who may be more liberal than you, I think we can all agree that if we pitched in a couple of dollars to get some financial literacy coaches in a lot of these poor communities, teaching people how to manage money, what to do when they make money, what real estate looks like, how to flip it, how to do this, do that, I think we could help a lot of people. And that's not a partisan idea, but it's a good idea.
It's a damn good idea. And that's what I wrote in that op-ed piece. I said, these universities and the leagues owe it to these young athletes who have demonstrated they are disciplined, who have demonstrated they are committed. They owe it to them to get them financial literacy, to get them the right kind of coaching, to get them the right kind of life information so they are successful for life, not just a few seasons. I hope it gets attention, because I think now that they're doing this, letting them earn money off of their name and stuff in college, what a great time to say, okay, do this, but get into a financial management course and learn what this is all about. It'll make all the difference in the world.
And learn how to stay out of trouble. I do a little bit of criminal defense work. I represent a few of these individuals. What does Tony Dungy say? Nothing good happens after midnight, Dr. Phil.
Exactly. You got young men with pure testosterone flowing through their veins, a lot of free time, and new money. What could possibly go wrong here?
And a lot of new friends.
Exactly.
New friends.
Yeah, they come out of the woodwork. Well, listen, I think you and I could sit down and figure out a whole lot of stuff.
I think we could too. I think we need more. Like I said, we need more good people. So in the establishment, in these halls of Congress, and I'm only 37, and I may sound pessimistic or jaded, but I can tell you that I'm really hurt after the last couple of weeks, after Buffalo, after this recent school shooting. I mean, I see the crush of inflation on people. I see, and people, we're still in the middle of a war, right?
Yeah.
People are committing war crimes, right? I think about the family of Brittany Griner all the time, Dr. Phil. I think about what she's going through, and it's just, I'm hopeful, but my tone is probably pessimistic because this is just a kind of weird time that we're in.